Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Now today the topic of this video is going to be why I left the Democratic Party. Ooh, seems like a rather interesting topic. But before we get to that, let's get right into the news. Our first news story is kind of a confirmation on something that happened last time. Former Libertarian Party candidate Gary Johnson running for U.S. Senate. Former Libertarian presidential candidate Gary Johnson began his campaign Tuesday to unseat Mexico's junior Democratic senator seeking political opportunity in the space between Democrats and loyal voters to President Donald Trump. Johnson, a former two-term governor of Mexico, was added to the state's list of Senate candidates and final paperwork was being filed with the election. His campaign manager said a formal announcement will come soon. Now, this is actually, he's pretty much already announced that, but, again, my thoughts are pretty simple. Gary Johnson was kind of alright in the 2016 election, so, yeah, go for him. I don't think I'm going to be endorsing him anytime soon, but, good for Johnson. There's actually another article that was like, professional spoiler Gary Johnson enters in the fray. It's like, for who? His policies are pretty much in the center. But anyways, next story. Absolute failure. DNC passes Perez resolution reversing ban on donations from fossil fuel PACs. Activists immediately denounced this measure, which also recommits the parties to an all-of-the-above energy stance. Just 2 months after the Democratic National Committee was celebrated for environmentalists for banning donations from fossil fuel companies, it voted 30-2 on Friday to adopt a resolution from Chair Tom Perez that critics said effectively reversed the ban and represents an absolute failure by the DNC. Now, my thoughts? Once again, the Democratic Party shows ineffectiveness on a piece of legislation. I mean, not even a piece of legislation. It's pretty much just basically an unannounced agreement. They could have literally done. It's not even surprising at this point. I'll go more in depth about it, ineffectiveness later, but, yeah. Here's one that's actually really interesting. Unite the Right 2018 was a pathetic failure. After last year's disaster in Charlottesville, very few white nationalists showed up to the follow-up rally in Washington, D.C. It was supposed to be the start of another show of force by white nationalists. Unite the Right 2 was the follow-up to the last year's disastrous and violent demonstrations at Charlottesville, Virginia, which concluded with a Nazi sympathizer ramming his car into a crowd of protesters, injuring several and killing one. Now, they got 20 so people. There's this 19-year-old named Dan from Long Island who's wants a peaceful cleansing of Latinos and blacks. I'm not particularly a fan of that idea. You can find out why. But there was 20. There was 10 or 20 people there. It was rather disappointing. I mean, even for white nationalists, it's really disappointing. It's like that. It's like there was an interview recently also with a guy who created Unite the Right 2, and he's literally having an interview with Patrick Little, who was a white supremacist that ran for Senate in California. And his dad literally walks in going get that shit out of my room. Stop being hateful in my room. It's just, well, okay, I guess all white supremacists live with their fathers. Everybody knows that. You live with your father? Sorry to tell you, you're a bit of a white supremacist. Now, here's another story. Bloomberg eyes 2020 presidential run as a Democrat, but can a centrist unite the party? Spoiler alert, the answer is no. But anyway, let's humor them. For the past 2 election cycles, thrice elected New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg has toyed with a bid with the U.S. presidency. With 2020 approaching, the financial news data billionaire is again looking at his chances, but with one crucial difference. It says here, 2012, 2016, he considered running as an independent. He was afraid of splitting the Democratic vote, blah, blah, blah. There's something here that is actually, interesting. Okay, here it is. According to veteran Democratic campaign manager Hank Scheinkopf, sounds a bit Nazi-like, but whatever, Bloomberg's relevant rivals are not Democratic Party political picks, like among them former Vice President Joe Biden, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, Senators Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, Bernie Sanders from Vermont, Cory Booker from New Jersey, and Kamala Harris of California, but instead, Scheinkopf sees the main threat coming from other wealthy business people believed to be toying with presidential runs, like businessman Mark Cuban, former Starbucks chairman Howard Schultz, and investor and billionaire liberal activist Tom Steyer. Okay, this is kind of a spoiler for when I get to the main topic, but you see why the Democratic Party is kind of scrambling. Their literal strategists are saying, yeah, don't pay attention to the experienced politicians who could actually stand a chance, and policy-wise, Elizabeth Warren, she's got a like the second highest favorability rating. Cory Booker, the guy who raises a ton of money and is kind of well known. Bernie Sanders, the guy who's like the highest ranked politician in the history of the United States. Ignore them. We gotta worry about Mark Cuban, because Mark Cuban is 100% ranked for president. I just know it. Howard Schultz, he's gonna make America thirsty again with his Starbucks. It's like, no. Why are you paying attention to billionaires? If this whole YouTube thing blows over, I'm just gonna go register to be a Democratic strategist just so I could say shit on the camera. I could just say yeah. Only look at the billionaires and millionaires. But like, this is the thing about Michael Bloomberg. Nobody likes him. Literally, nobody. Think about it. Like Michael Bloomberg, the mayor that banned big gulps. He banned big gulps in New York City. That was the thing he did. Democrats won't like him because, the Democratic base is, like, they don't want a centrist. They want Medicare for all. Republicans don't like him because it's like, hey, you banned big gulps. You know what that means? You hate you hate the idea of people having the freedom to drink big gulps. And centrists, those like people on the internet, they're like, I'm actually a radical centrist because the left and the right is too far gone. It's the horseshoe theory. Those people are gonna be like, how can I support that guy? He wants to ban big gulps. That's fucking stupid. Nobody likes Michael Bloomberg, and yet people are throwing his name out for running. But then again, it's not noticeable. I've covered stories about how people wanted Stormy Daniels to run for presidency. Michael Avenatti is seen as a popular contender. Alec Baldwin, go to the Wikipedia page. I'm pretty sure Alec Baldwin is still on the top page for, the candidate. But anyways, let's shift overseas. Because we're going to be going back to our mother at the pond, on the other side of the pond. Patrick Stewart dumps Labour after 73 years because he's opposed to Jeremy Corbyn. Now let me clarify this. The article title is a bit of a, it's a bit of a clickbaity. Let me explain. The veteran actor has backed Labour since 1945, but is furious with Jeremy Corbyn over Brexit. Sir Patrick claimed Mr. Corbyn was refusing to stand up to Theresa May over Brexit because of his more concern over winning power for himself. He told the pro-EU paper, New European newspaper, "I think I will vote Green next time, as they have got it right about Brexit and many other issues that we should be concerned about, such as climate change. To be perfectly honest, I find it difficult to understand what Labour really stands for or what it represents right now. It doesn't feel like my party anymore. I am not a politician and I am not a strategist, but I have a suspicion that Jeremy believes that a disastrous Brexit would benefit him politically." Okay. Now, I'm a bit of a fan of Jeremy Corbyn. You know, he's a cool guy. Personally, if Patrick Stewart doesn't like Jeremy Corbyn because if he doesn't want to be a part of Labour and wants to join Green Party of England and Wales, that's fine. I'm fully supportive. The Green Party of England and Wales and the Labour Party, to me, are the same thing, except one is green and one is red. Now, literally, that is the truth. But, you know, Corbyn is a really good democratic socialist kind of guy. He endorsed Bernie Sanders, and, well, that's just how it is. He's probably going to flip green, and that'll be an interesting celebrity endorsement for a third party in the UK, because in the UK, third parties actually have a chance because of the whole parliamentary system. I could make a video about that, but, you know, it's kind of like how Sargon left Labour Party to join UKIP because, well, I'm a centre-left kind of guy. I gotta join UKIP, the far-right party of England. Whatever. Now we're gonna get back over to the United States, talk about a topic. This isn't the topic yet, but it's still a news story. But here's what the thing is: Democrats opposing Pelosi. Representative Nancy Pelosi, Democratic California, said the insider trading charges announced on Wednesday and that's not relevant. But like, basically, for those of you who don't know, Nancy Pelosi is again going to be in the up and running to be the Speaker of the House. You know, because she's the only candidate the Democrats are currently offering, because, why would any other Democrat run against Nancy Pelosi? Nancy Pelosi's so likable, am I right, guys? Pelosi has, this is basically has been every single election for Speaker of the House. Pelosi's the only Democrat running, and then afterwards Kyrsten Sinema votes for John Lewis, and then some other guy votes for someone else. I don't know why Kyrsten Sinema always votes John Lewis. John Lewis is he's in between the center and center left, whereas Kyrsten Sinema is in between the center and the center right, so I don't necessarily see why she would vote for him. Maybe it's because due to John Lewis being well-known figure. Personally, if I were in Congress, I would vote for Raul Grijalva or Ro Khanna to be Speaker of the House. But that's just me. But anyways, there are a lot of Democrats who are currently running for office or currently in office that are saying that they're going to oppose Nancy Pelosi running for Speaker of the House. Nancy Pelosi's had some choice words to say, saying, well, the Republicans don't have to choose who the next Speaker of the House is, but that's not the question that you were asked, Pelosi. The question you were asked is, what about these 57 Democrats who do not want you in the House? Yes, I said 57. I'm going to be reading some quotes, some from some people that I endorse and or like. There's going to be some ones that I don't like. I'm gonna go over one that was really interesting, the one that I technically almost kind of endorsed. Now, the one that I almost endorsed is here, Max Rose, running for Democratic nomination for New York's 11th District. I think he won the nomination, actually. If the Democratic Party is going to earn back the trust of the American people, then we need to show them that we are serious about changing our politics, and that means we gotta change in leadership. Now, Max Rose, I had him on my endorsement page for a long time, but you may notice he's not there anymore because I found out that he received an endorsement from the Blue Dog Democratic Coalition. So, yeah, I had to immediately pull that endorsement fast. I was like, whoa, no. Richard Ojeda also had some words saying, I don't think she relates to the working class. Rashida Tlaib, sorry for mispronouncing your name. She made a famous thing on the internet saying, when Chris Cuomo, I believe, asked her, would you vote for Nancy Pelosi? She says, no, probably not. Supporting big banks and supporting efforts that I don't think should be put in people first is troubling. She doesn't speak for the issues that are important for families of the 13th Congressional District. And I'll also do Kansas with James Thompson, saying, I do not support Nancy Pelosi returning as leader. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had also some words, but it was kind of like a mixed bag at best. Now, all these Democrats are like, they're pretty much on the nose. They're pretty much on the nose when in regards to the policy of not getting Pelosi back in the House, because Pelosi is kind of a shit candidate. I mean, here's exactly what happened when she was in control. She was in control of the House, and you know what happened? The Democrats lost the House and have not regained it since. Think about it. She won a majority in... here's exactly what happened. She got elected in 2006, I believe. I think so, yes. But anyway, she was I believe she was Speaker of the House at the time. Then in 2007 or so, she no, not 2007, 2008. They received a huge majority in the House, and they also received a majority in the Senate, but she technically doesn't have anything to do in there. And she was Speaker of the House. People were, excited. They're like, finally Obama can, pass single-payer health care, because that's what the Democrats stand for, right? Wrong. But anyways, people just didn't like her, didn't like Obama, so the Republicans entered the fray saying, hey, you don't like Obama and Pelosi? Well, we don't like them either, so... And then, one thing led to another, and now all of a sudden we have a ton of Republican babies that are inside of the House. But that's just how it works. If you don't get the people to vote for you, they're not going to vote for you. Nancy Pelosi's just got, the shit. Yeah, boy. But anyways, now let's move on to the political party of the day. The party in question is a political party known as the American Delta Party. Now, this party actually has to do a bit of history. It all starts with a candidate by the name of Rocky de la Fuente, who, need I remind you, is currently running for Senate in Rhode Island and Delaware and Florida and Wyoming. And he also ran for Senate in Minnesota. Wait, not Minnesota. Montana, Vermont, Hawaii, Washington, California, and then in 2017 he ran for mayor of New York City. He ran for president in 2016. Also ran for Florida Senate in 2016. So yeah, even though Rocky de la Fuente has only been politically active since 2016, he's been doing a lot. But anyways, let's move on to find out what this party is. Rocky de la Fuente is a businessman, and he decided in 2016 to throw his hat in the ring to run for president. he chose to do it under the Democratic ticket because the Republicans were running 17 candidates, and he would never get his voice heard in the Republican primaries because there were like 17 major candidates. This is just the major candidates, not even the ones that like. And the Democratic Party, they literally only had like, let me see, Clinton, Sanders, O'Malley, Lessig, Chafee, Webb. They had like 6 major candidates. So De La Fuente was like, hey, if I go in this party, I'll have an easier time to get on the ballots. But as we can find out with Lawrence Lessig, not so much. Because, the party has to, be like, we accept you as a member of the party, but since the party pretty much only wanted Hillary Clinton, pretty much everybody was seen as just, extra. So, De La Fuente, his plans was basically to be he was like, his platform was basically like social progressivism, but also fiscal responsibility. So, he's a centrist, pretty much. Now, despite the fact he was a centrist, he was not seen as a viable candidate. Even being invited to a New Hampshire primary, the New Hampshire lesser-known party's candidates debate, where progressive candidates like John Wolfe Jr. and John D. Haywood, and not so progressive candidates like Vermin Supreme and Randall Terry were able to make their names known in 2012. But he was invited to the 2016 one, obviously, because he was running in 2016. But anyways, when he ran, he was pretty much shunned out because pretty much all the Democratic Party wanted to do was, grab the crown and then and then give it to Queen Hillary. But Sanders proved to be a formidable challenge, even though the Democratic Party was like, I mean, come on, Sanders, you're not going to win. Well, yes, I know, but I need to give people the progressive challenge. I know you're going to rig it against me. So, De La Fuente was like, well, fine. If you're not going to allow me in your party, I'm going to create my own party. And the party he created was the American Delta Party. He literally created this party just so he could be in the 2016 election. Which, I mean, if that's how you want to get your voice heard, that's one way to do it. Create your own party. I've heard of a couple other people in the past that have done that. Teddy Roosevelt. But anyways, like, his platform, of course, was, social progressivism and fiscal responsibility. Michael Steinberg was selected to be his running mate. He had ballot access on, 20 states. De La Fuente was not that well known. Nobody really cared about him. Except for the Reform Party, which I'm going to address this in the end of year video. One of my 2 big end of year videos. One for my podcast, which is going to be the fabled episode where I list everybody I would have voted for in every single presidential election in United States history. Woo! And then the other one, which is going to be a look back on my mistakes that I've made. I already know there's one person out there who I know would be the perfect person to correct me. So hit me up. You know who you are. But anyways, he was only well known for the free and equal debate moderated by Ed Asner and Christina Tobin, which is a debate that I really freaking recommend because, many people like complaining about how the 2016 debate was like, oh, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, they were like screaming at each other, calling each other names. Donald Trump saying that he would put Hillary Clinton in jail. But this debate literally had a far-right paleocon, a far-left socialist whose Twitter bio literally says that she supports Cuba, North Korea, and the other Venezuela. Yeah, Venezuela. And Rocky De La Fuente, who was like the moderate guy. and they were incredibly civil. There were many times where Paleocon Daryl Castle literally would say, this is something that my socialist friend here I would have to say I agree with my socialist friend here. Of course, there were obvious moments where they would say, okay, that's obviously a big disagreement, but the only thing about this debate that I will play for you is a moment that Rocky De La Fuente did trying to rip off Hillary Clinton.
And don't play Nintendo or play Pokemon or whatever the thing is. It's creating a lot of issues.
Pokemon go to the polls. I mean, come on, Rocky. You can't deny that was clearly you trying to be like hip and cool with the kids. Even though I'm pretty sure he was trying to criticize Pokemon Go. But, yeah. That is pretty much all we got about the American Delta Party, because I'm pretty sure even though Wikipedia doesn't say so, I'm pretty sure it is disbanded because the American Delta Party website is down and De La Fuente has been making these runs as Republican or Democrat, so it is pretty clear that the American Delta Party is dead. Michael Steinberg isn't even a registered member of the party. He's a member of the Reform Party, which endorsed De La Fuente, but yeah. Now, the main topic of this video is going to be the big one, why I left the Democratic Party. Now, before I begin that, I'm gonna have to give you a bit of a synopsis on why I joined the Democratic Party, quote unquote joined, because I wasn't a registered voter at the time. Now, that all begins in 2014, but technically it started in 2011, but 2011 was kind of when my real awakening happened, because I was 11 years old, and I am here's something that I kind of say, like people were like, well, have you even tried conservatism? I always try to make this like rebuttal about like, but haven't you at least ever considered conservative ideas? And then I'm like, I was conservative once, and then I turned 11. But that was because, like, shows like Family Guy were like introducing me to stuff like, marijuana is not that bad. And let me be kind of interestingly real. Gay rights. Back when I was 11, I was always, I was the kind of guy that was like, the Bible says the Bible says gay people need to go to hell and burn. But I discovered something very interesting. My favorite Power Ranger, Billy, who was played by the actor David Yost, I discovered that David Yost was gay, and this is literally what happened. I was literally looking at that and being like, you know what? Maybe gay people aren't so bad after all. It's kind of humiliating to admit, but it's true. That's actually how it happened. I mean, people in the gay rights community probably don't care. It's like, well, you got on the right side of the issue. I mean, it doesn't matter how you got on that side. I mean, whatever. But 2014 kind of was the bigger one, because I started watching a little known YouTube channel. Nobody's probably heard of it. The Young Turks. It's run by this guy named Cenk Uygur. Yeah, he's not well known. He has a lot of people who join with him. Anna Kasparian, Dave Rubin used to be part of them. But nobody likes Dave Rubin. Nobody cares. But I watched the Young Turks, and they were like, espousing like, we're the liberal host show, and I was like, ooh, I like being liberal. What's a liberal? And then I looked up what liberal meant, and then came to the modern American social liberal definition, and I was like, you know what? I'm a liberal too. Now, I don't use that term anymore because of but, well, then we of course have but I kind of just stayed on and off watching the Young Turks, kind of like, I remember back when the Young Turks were like shit talking Caden Cowger. Oof, Caden Cowger. Anybody remember him? The 14-year-old that had a radio show. To which I say, hey, why don't I have a radio show? I mean, I don't even care about having a radio show. I don't need a radio show. I have YouTube. I can do this. But, you know, a radio show is also like people, I kind of just in my head want a radio show much in the same way I want to write and print political articles. I want it because in my brain, it makes me feel like more of a pundit, you know. But in reality, I'm like, I don't really need to do that because those mediums are kind of dead. But, whatever. But anyways, then I literally was pretty much just I was just, you know, like, liberals and Democrats rule, Republicans and conservatives stink. And then I got a little bit of a kick to actually be really focused in the 2016 presidential election, where, at first, reluctantly being like, man, I don't want to support Hillary, but I guess I kind of have to. And then I shifted my eyes slightly to the right, because that's how it was on the Wikipedia article, not due to policy, and I saw another guy, an old man with white hair that was really rough around the edges, and that man was a man by the name of Bernie Sanders. I'm like, who's Bernie Sanders? And then I looked him up on YouTube, and the first video that popped up was a classic video. It's classic Vine, if you will, which I will now play for you.
Remove the federal prohibition on marijuana.
And I was like, you know, whoa, this guy wants to legalize the dank kush too? Sign me up. So, that's how I got started. And then, of course, you know, I started looking into more of his other policies, you know, like universal health care and, you know, taxing the rich. And I was like, well, these are no-brainers, dum-dum. Why aren't we doing that now? I thought we were doing that now. Wait, you're telling me that we can have free college and free healthcare? But how do we do this? And unlike everybody else who was like, yeah, how do we do this, Sanders? How? When I said, how do we do this, Sanders, I actually paid attention enough to hear him say, here's how we're gonna do it. And I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. But nobody else seemed to pay attention to that part. Everybody paid attention to the part where he's like, I am a democratic socialist. So I was also kind of like, you know, if he's a democratic socialist, then I'm a democratic socialist too. But, you know, as I got older, I was like, oh, wait, no, that's not, he's not a democratic socialist, he's a social democrat. Oops, I guess he forgot to say that part. You know, he could have avoided the whole socialist controversy if he said, no, I'm a social democrat. Oh, okay. But, I mean, that's a whole different topic for another day on why he calls himself a democratic socialist and not a social democrat, but whatever. Anyways, I was like full on the Sanders train. Many people use the term Bernie bro as like a pejorative, but I take it as a positive. And for girls, I also have another one. You can call yourself Sanders sisters, or Sanders sisters if you want to, you know, be hip and cool with the young kids, which is what pretty much all the Sanders supporters were, kids. Literally, if you could see it in my school, like in my high school, pretty much every single student there was at least somewhat supportive of Bernie Sanders in some way. Even like the kind of like social justice types that you would expect to be like Hillary Clinton, like, because Hillary Clinton has a vagina. And they were full on the Sanders boat. And that's like good. It was really impressive. That is really impressive. I'm not gonna name names. You know who you are if you happen to see this video. But anyways, as the primaries were going on, it was always the uphill battle. Hillary Clinton had the advantage of fucking the person who used to be president, or rather not fucking him. Also, every single Democrat in the history of the world was somehow endorsing Hillary Clinton, except for like at least three prominent ones. Like, literally, just take a look at if you literally just take a look at endorsements based on people alone, you will understand that he was literally an uphill battle all the way for Sanders. Keith Ellison, Alan Grayson, he had like literally 6 congressmen endorsed him, 1 senator, and of course everybody was saying how it was an uphill battle. And then I received like a glimmer of hope when I heard about the whole Hillary Clinton email scandal. I was mad that Hillary Clinton, did the email scandal to begin with, but then I was like, this is good. And I was thinking, like, just logically, because my brain went to the whole obvious Democrats equal left and Republicans equal right. If these are Democratic Party standards, and to my understanding, they seem to be, FDR kind of fought for a lot of these similar platform things, then this should be a no-brainer. Bernie should win, right? He was supportive of the Civil Rights Act. He was supportive of the Civil Rights Act before Hillary Clinton was. So why isn't he, all these points ahead? So then came the convention, July 26th. I believe it is. Yeah, July 26th. And, of course, Bernie didn't win the nomination. And that stunk. I was like, he was literally my candidate. The guy who got me involved, and he lost. And I was just thinking logically, no. There has to have been a reason why this didn't happen. This person speaks to the base of the party. How the heck is he not winning? How the heck did he lose? And of course I was thinking just, the obvious. Well, he just didn't have the votes. But like, I'm sorry, I kind of skipped ahead, but many people who were Sanders supporters, including me, also noticed a lot of things during the primary season that started maybe being like, now hold on a minute. People not covering Sanders during the rallies. People, every time Bernie Sanders wins, it's always like, he won by this much. But every time Hillary Clinton won by the exact amount, they'd be like, Hillary Clinton sweeps Bernie Sanders across the floor and makes him fucking bleed. And, just people obviously, like, even at the Democratic Party convention, there was literally the biggest controversy of them all, where it's literally like, they had 2 pieces of merchandise for Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Hillary's was like a Mao Zedong-like painting, and Bernie's was like a literal Jewish Holocaust-looking thing. I'm not even kidding. And, we were thinking, like, many people like me and Cal Kalinske and Cenk Uygur and all those kinds of Bernie supporters that were looking at this and being like, now hold on a second, something's not adding up. Something's not adding up. And then came Assange. Julian Assange came through and pointed out the DNC hacked emails and was like, hey guys, look at this. Ed Schultz shown that he couldn't support Sanders. He couldn't show Sanders on the television. And clear showing of favorability. Even people trying to out Bernie Sanders as an atheist, even though he isn't one. So, I was thinking this party that espouses democratic values, it calls itself the Democratic Party, is a freaking lie. It's a lie. Like, many people, like, they think it's, like, strange. If you actually analyze the names of the parties, they mean different forms of government, but both are literally advocating the same form of government. The Democratic Party, the assumption is it advocates a more democratic way of winning, and or it's more democratic as in, like, the people decide, not the people on top. And republics, you know, the people on the bottom choose the people on top to make the laws. But both are really advocating the laws. But the names of the parties are freaking meaningless. I think we should literally just call one the neoliberal party and one the neoconservative party. It would be way easier if there were just parties that literally just had the names of what ideology they espoused. It would be freaking easy for the whole freaking world. So, of course, with this thing, I literally couldn't support the Democratic Party. I just couldn't. I mean, how can you do that? How could you just look blindly away to this literal cheating? They cheated me out of the president that the majority of the people wanted. Majority of the poll numbers showed that Bernie would have beat Trump flying colors, and they were like, nah, it's not gonna happen. It reminds me of this Chris Farley meme where, like, Chris Farley is interviewing Hillary Clinton, and it's like, remember how we said that we weren't going to vote for you, and you said, yes, you are going to vote for me, and we said, no, we're never going to vote for you, and you said, we're going to rig the primary for against Bernie Sanders so that you're going to be forced to vote for me, and we said, we're not going to vote for you, we're going to vote third party, and then you said, no, you're going to vote for me instead, and then we decided that we're not going to vote for you, and then you lost the election because we didn't vote for you. Yeah, remember that? Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So there's actually another thing. I was so in the Democratic thing, like, I was so into the idea of Democratic party thing that I actually signed up for the Democratic Party email thing, which was the worst idea I could ever have, but I did it anyways. And after Sanders lost, they sent me an email talking about how they needed to support Hillary and I needed to give them money. And I sent them an email that literally said, like, oh, no, here it is, I found it. I'm gonna quote it word for word. Okay, here it is. Here's the actual email that they sent to me. Today marks 100 days until election day. Before midnight tonight, pitch the $2 to $100 for Hillary Clinton and the Democrats. Okay, you got that? And I sent them back, dear, quote, Democratic Party, you are corrupt. Please fix your party and choose the correct candidate. When Hillary loses, you will be sorry. Hashtag never Hillary. And remember, just pay attention to that last sentence I said. when Hillary loses, you will be sorry. That is one thing I predicted that no one else seemed to know. I literally went to my friends the day of election day, and I was saying, I had no polls in mind. There were no results at the moment. I literally said, there is a higher chance that Donald Trump wins than Hillary Clinton. Don't underestimate him. And I was just saying to everybody, don't underestimate him. He's probably going to win. There is a high chance that he's going to win. But I did make the incorrect assumption that he would at the very least win the popular... And I said, at worst case scenario, he would have... I mean, now people are going to think I'm a Democratic... I'm a Republican shill or something, or a Russian bot or something. But I was saying, for Donald Trump, the worst case scenario is that he wins the popular vote but doesn't win the electoral vote. I got that reverse. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, but she didn't win the electoral vote. But anyways, yeah. So, and I even remember, I have a friend who said, the day she found out that Donald Trump won, her and her mother were crying. But the day I found out that Hillary Clinton, I didn't even think of it as the day Donald Trump won. I thought of it as the day Hillary Clinton lost. I was laughing. I was smiling. I was like, she lost. This woman who has been preparing for this job since the day she exited her mother's womb lost. And everybody was doing the hashtag Schadenfreude. And I was doing a hashtag because I was I knew she was going to freaking lose. Nobody believed me. They thought I was crazy. But I was right. I like it when I'm right. Technically, this has been the third time in a row that my predictions for the winner of the presidential election was, general. Prediction for primary, I was wrong. I predicted that Bernie was good. Let me explain. In 2012, in 2008, I predicted I predicted Obama was gonna win. But then again, I was also I just wanted a black president. So, in 2012, I also predicted that Obama was gonna win. My original prediction for 2016 was that Bernie was going to win the primary and then win the general. Because, polls were saying that was probably going to be the case if he were to win. So, I was still under the impression that the Democratic Party was actually left-wing. But, that's... We all know, we found out that that's not true. And then I predicted that since Bernie Sanders lost, it just means Donald Trump wins. Literally I'm literally one of the few people that literally predicted that it was gonna happen, because if you just gotta pay attention to, that's a whole topic for another day, but I'm pretty sure I've gone over this before, but 3 states Rust Belt trade. That's just how it works. I could make a whole video about that. Leave a comment in the comment section below if you want that to be a future one. Why Donald Trump actually won and not the Russian BS. Okay, so, and of course, my brain kind of was like, what? But again, how could this happen? Why would they do this? Why would the Democratic Party just choose to do this out of nowhere? Guess what? I was a chump. I'm actually going to read something. I'm going to read an article that I was supposed to post to Real Progressives, but that had a whole bit of drama that I'm not going to get into getting it posted because it wasn't good enough. I mean, I don't want to start any beef. Last time beef was started here. Last time beef was started about Real Progressives, something bad happened to... not trying to start beef. Go read real progressive articles or watch their live streams or whatever if you want. But I'm gonna read my quote unquote article, which basically proves my point after I did it's basically like me doing the research to show you that the Democratic Party does not do this. Like, they do this a lot. Let me take you back to 1952. 5 Democrats were running for the party's nomination, one of which was Tennessee Senator S.S. Kefauver. Kefauver was a staunch supporter of FDR's New Deal and was extremely antitrust, focusing a lot of his congressional career on combating monopolies. Kefauver did not earn many friends in the Tennessee Democratic Party, with the leader of the state party, E.H. Crump, claiming that Kefauver was working for the Pinkos and the Communists with the stealth of raccoon, to which Kefauver famously responded with, "I may be a pet coon, but I'm not Boss Crump's pet coon," while donning the coonskin cap like famous Tennessee Congressman Davy Crockett. Not surprisingly, when he ran for the presidency, he was immensely popular. Kefauver won 12 contests with 64.6% of the popular vote, or 3,169,448 votes overall. Yeah, Adlai Stevenson II became the nominee, despite the fact that he wasn't even running. Seems a bit unfair, don't you think? Now let's look at 1968 with LBJ, one of the most progressive presidents aside from the Roosevelts. Johnson took an unprogressive stance on the Vietnam War. Candidates like Senator Eugene McCarthy ran on an anti-war platform, which also made him immensely popular, winning 38.7% of the popular vote, which got him 2,914,933 votes overall, which was the most amount of votes in the primary, even more than other progressive candidate Bobby Kennedy. Yeah, Hubert Humphrey won the nomination despite the fact that he avoided the primaries. Not really that democratic, would you say? Now, 1988 and 1984 had the rise and the candidacy of Jesse Jackson. Love him or hate him, he had a very progressive platform, even earning himself an endorsement from Bernie Sanders in 1988. He was seen as the media by a fringe. He was seen by the media as a fringe candidate due to his race. In 2000, Senator Bill Bradley, while not as progressive as Sanders, had a immensely progressive platform by a long shot with single-payer healthcare. He wasn't even acknowledged as a candidate, even though because of the fact that Gore was their ideal candidate. 2004 was worse, as we had 2 progressive candidates with a progressive platform. Governor Howard Dean and Representative Dennis Kucinich. Both advocated for universal health care, and both were treated unfairly by the DNC and the media. Need I remind you of the infamous Dean scream? Kucinich didn't fare any better, with Larry King disrespecting him during the debates, and Jon Stewart criticizing him for wanting to nominate an LGBTQ person to the Supreme Court, because that's so controversial. In 2008, Kucinich ran for the presidency again, this time with progressive ally Mike Gravel running as an opponent. Both ran on the platform of universal health care, legalizing weed, legalizing gay marriage, and withdrawing from Iraq. Even more centrist candidate John Edwards adopted a universal health care idea into his platform, and Edwards, out of the 3 mentioned, was the only person that was seen as kind of viable, aside from Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Gravel and Kucinich were seen as the crazy left-wing liberals. Gravel actually had such a bad taste in his mouth that he decided to join the Libertarian Party to advocate for a social policy. 2012 was seen as even worse with Obama because he was the incumbent. Progressive Democrats like John Wolfe Jr., Darcy Richardson, and John D. Haywood were just flat out ignored. The only time John Wolfe was seen as a viable candidate was when he won 41.63% of the popular vote in Arkansas and was slated to receive 90 delegates and 4 delegates in Louisiana, but he was denied all of them before the votes were even counted. These candidates were, and a couple of other smaller Dems, were in favor of universal health care, $15 minimum wage, and withdrawing the troops from the Middle East. And 2016 was the most relevant and prevalent case because of the fact that first we had the candidate of Lawrence Lessig being one of the loudest voices for campaign finance reform. While Lessig was not as progressive as Sanders on healthcare, they agreed on a lot of the other issues. However, in order to get in the first debate, the Democratic Party had to accept him and allow him to actually appear in the polls so he could find out if his campaign. However, they didn't do that, and instead lumped him in the others category while placing Joe Biden above him, even though Joe Biden wasn't even running. And of course, we have the leaked DNC WikiLeaks emails, thank you WikiLeaks, where it was shown that the DNC had used its people in the media to prop up the Trump campaign and undermine the Sanders campaign. The biggest example of this was when Ed Schultz was fired from NBC for daring to attempt to cover Bernie in the election. Now, their actions in this field would be bad enough. No political organization should do this, but let's analyze what happens when they do get into power. For the sake of remembrance, let's analyze the Obama administration. Under Obama, we got the Wall Street bailout, a Medicare for All half measure, an increase in NSA surveillance, a crackdown on whistleblowers, an increase in drone warfare, and a promise of change that was never fulfilled. It's Democrats in Congress, like Nancy Pelosi, David Price, Cory Booker, and Dianne Feinstein, who still don't advocate for a progressive agenda. Feinstein especially, since her website literally says Senator Feinstein strongly supports a universal health care for all Americans, and it is for these reasons, among others, that I, as a progressive individual, cannot identify as a Democrat anymore. Now, just because I don't identify as a Democrat doesn't mean I'll shun away progressive Democrats. Two of the greatest presidents, FDR and LBJ, were Democrats, and in today, we have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ryan Watts, Levi Sanders, Alan Grayson, fighting to bring a progressive agenda to America. But if we want people to know that progressivism works, we need to make it known that we support progressives across the board, whether they have a realistic chance or not. That way, Democrats will know that if they don't go progressive, we'll go somewhere else. So, yeah. I mean, aside from minor scoops that I've had in there from reading it, nothing against the way it was read. I just have some kind of, thing where I'll just read a word over and over. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video might comes out. And if you're interested in more political content from me, you can go to my website, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Quora. And I guess that's about it.